another edition of Paranormal Nashville. Our guest is Mr. Johnny Clayton, and he was stationed at the Roswell military base there, Army Air Force Base, I believe it was, in 1947. And he's been featured in Stanton Freedman's book, Crash at Corona. And he's going to talk to us today and give us some of his recollections of what happened around the time. Now, Johnny, welcome to the show, first of all.
Yeah,
good to have you.
You bet.
Well, you were a projectionist at
Right,
the movie theaters
space,
there.
right.
Okay, tell me a little bit about that. I've heard Stanton mention that before.
Well, I was there in 1947. Well, I went there in 1946 after World War II. I pulled a hitch, and anyhow, this crash happened a little northwest of Roswell, and the barracks that I was built in, they conscripted a detail to go out on the cleanup of that crash.
Yeah.
And well, at that time, it's just another happening. You know, we didn't realize really what it's all about, or didn't give it any thought, or at least I didn't. I know after the guys came back, when I asked them what happened, they just went out on the detail and cleaned it up. Because they were sworn and under strict security not to tell, anything, I'm sure. But I remember the days it happened, and about them going out and doing the cleanup on that particular site.
Now, Roswell was the most highly top secret military base in existence at the time, wasn't it? Because the World War I was going on. Is that correct? World War II.
World War II. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're not that old.
That's right. That is right. Well, right after I went there, I think we had this notorious football player, which was Colonel William H. Blanchard.
Yes, sir.
And he was a base commander, and like I say, I pulled a hitch after the war, and I was stationed there a little over 2 years. I finished up my third year. I really enlisted over in the country of Burma. I believe it was in 1945. And so that's about the extent of what I know. I know there was since then I worked over all the major towns in New Mexico. I followed construction, and I lived in Socorro, and just before I went into Socorro, there was a crash over there. But I remember driving by it, but never got out to go examine it. Of course, there wouldn't have been anything there. I wouldn't think at that time. And further on over west is a little town called Magdalena. They call it the Central Plains area. A little town there called Daddle, Pie Town, which I've been through there, and there was a few crashes there, but not in that year that I remember.
Right. So you're was it your battalion or your platoon that got actually called out to the crash site?
It was part of the boys there in my barracks, and that was in the headquarters squadron.
Okay.
That we was in. And it was, I don't know how many boys went. I don't remember. It's been a long time ago, but I do know the boys went.
So now, what did they tell you? Did any of your fellow servicemen tell you any stories about what they had seen out there? Or
no,
they kept their mouths shut pretty much? Or
as far as I remember, they did. And like I said a while ago, we didn't think anything about it,
Right.
Just didn't think
flying
anything.
saucers, just another everyday thing.
I don't remember whether they said it was a flying saucer at that time or not.
Yes.
I just don't know. But I think best I remember, they tried to put it off as a weather balloon.
As a weather balloon,
yeah,
right. The initial story came out, they did announce that it was flying saucers, but then the next day in the newspaper they retracted the story, and Colonel Jesse Marsalis was the gentleman that was in charge of the stuff, and they had shown him with the weather balloon stuff, and as a matter of fact, the Air Force has since admitted that was a cover story. So the military has admitted that that was a cover story to
Right.
begin with.
Uh-huh.
And then they came with another cover story that it was actually Project Grudge, which was a different secret project they were working on at the time. They tried to say it was that, but of course the dummies involved that they were dropping out of airplanes were over 6 feet tall.
Uh-huh.
And the supposed aliens or beings
Right.
or whatever on these craft were, small.
Little tiny guys.
And there's evidence of child coffins being ordered and things like that. And a lot of the people, some of the nurses and medical personnel working there had mentioned that they sighted the aliens years later, of course.
Uh-huh.
Now you were actually there, so there was no real buzz around the place about like this was any big deal, or?
Not as I remember, no.
Okay.
Not as I remember. But I know that it's so vague now.
Yes.
I can't remember.
Right.
Really, I can't. It seems like there was what a buzz around that. But I do remember that, Jim conscripting the guys from the very...
So you didn't actually go out to the crash site
No,
yourself?
no.
You were working as a movie projection.
Right.
Okay. And that is, did I have that correct? Roswell Army Air Force Base?
Right, that time, yeah.
Okay.
Right, that's what it was. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
You bet.
Now, did you know anyone else out there that mentioned anything to you later, or told you any stories about what they had seen, or?
I know a brother-in-law of mine at that time, I mean, not at that time, but later, said he knew this Brazelton, I believe.
Mac Brazel?
Yeah,
Right.
Brazel, or whatever it was. He had worked on that ranch. Now,
Yes.
in fact, I never questioned him anything about it.
Uh-huh.
I never thought of it.
Right.
I guess I would have.
Sure.
But anyhow, he knew Brazel, or Brazel, or whatever his
Yeah.
name was. Yeah.
Yeah, he initially did a radio interview, in fact, and told him, and said that there was a flying saucer crash, but then the next day,
You're right.
he was supposed to do another interview, and he didn't do any more interviews after that.
Yeah, well, that's,
Has anyone ever from the government ever told you to keep quiet about what you know,
No,
or said
no.
anything to you?
no.
So you kind of slid by being the
I guess,
projectionist
yeah.
there. They just
I
figured.
guess. Yes.
So this was
In fact, I never went on that detail and things like that. I didn't really know nothing on what to, that I didn't know
Right.
those guys went out on this detail.
right.
That's the same thing that I knew.
So you're more or less in Stanton Freedman's book, just really as a corroborative witness of some of the other guys that
Right,
actually,
that's right.
that they can prove that you were there and you're a real person and they were there. And,
That's right.
but you can't really remember any of the names. I know he has lists or whatever.
I
It's
can
not really
remember-
important, but if you could
I
remember
can't
any
remember
names.
any of the guys that went out on the detail, but I can
Right.
remember some of the guys that was, in the
In the
barracks.
same barracks,
Yeah,
okay.
let's see. No, I can't. I remember one girl told us he's from Indiana.
Uh-huh.
I can remember that, but what his name is, was, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Sure can.
So since all this happened, I mean, later on, I'm sure you've watched TV and seen a lot of shows about Roswell, or heard your name come up time and again, and
Yeah,
different things. And
yeah.
so have you been approached for a lot of different kind of interviews or stuff
No,
throughout the years?
no, I haven't.
Not just a few. So the only person who's really interviewed you other than this interview is Stanton Freedman?
Right, over the phone.
Okay.
It didn't last very long, it sure didn't.
Interesting. So have you came to any conclusions about it? I mean, do you think that whatever crashed out there was some kind of extraterrestrial, or
Yes,
or
I believe it's real.
maybe
You bet,
some
I
kind
believe-
of top secret government project?
No, I don't believe that. No, I believe
Now they've been using top secret government projects to cover this up, weren't they? And this has evidently been one of the most highly classified things for so many years, and even when they got the documents released, a lot of the information's been blacked out, the names and different things like that.
Well, I believe it was real, you bet.
But you're certainly connected to a part of history. So you were just, you really didn't, they didn't really, did anybody at the base tell you not to talk about it at the time? Of course, you had general orders, I guess, to not really talk to the press. And
No,
About
not
anything.
that. I was just more or less an innocent bystander and
Right.
didn't see anything.
nobody really bothered you
No,
about it?
no,
Okay.
no, not but I just did, like I say, the guys was in the barracks with me that was, picked you out there to clean the debris up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've seen those things here in Tennessee. Now what they were, I couldn't tell you.
Right.
But I do know there's something that I don't think it's ever invented here. It could perform like.
Oh, you've seen you've seen had a sighting of your own here in Tennessee?
Oh yeah, in Tennessee.
Okay.
Yeah, I sure have. And I live in Lincoln, here in Tennessee, in Lincoln County, near Fayetteville.
Yes.
And in the little community there called Molina.
Uh-huh.
And I believe it's 1972 that I moved out to myself in an old house. But every night I'd go out, at certain times I just love to look at the sky.
Sure, yeah.
I could see those things bouncing up north from where I lived. And they'd go down below the treetop level and drift here, then come back up again. Maybe there'd be 2 or 3 of them. Then one night I walked out and I saw this light was going up above the road, looked like about treetop level.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it was traveling. It had that bluish, greenish, whitish looking light.
Right.
Then I don't know how long after that I was going to Fayetteville, just about, maybe a little after sundown, but it was still light enough, you know.
Right.
And something passed over my head. It wasn't a man-made thing. It was some kind of a unidentified object, and I mean, it was blazed on fire.
Mm. So it was like a fireball kind of UFO? What kind of colors did it have?
It went over so quick. When I topped over this hill, it's kind of a little valley down here. I just happened to see it, you know. And
Yes.
I mean, it's just so quick. It went over that way. It wasn't no airplane. It wasn't
Right, nothing could move across the sky that quick.
That's right. They
Yeah.
moved that quick. We knew and it's in the, it wasn't no, missile under practice, anything like that in the hilly country, you know.
And it was some kind of bluish, greenish
Yeah,
color?
it had a glow to it.
Right.
Yeah, it sure did. But I've seen those things up in the sky several nights.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, it played out quick, you know.
Right.
I've seen them more, and I haven't seen them since.
So do you still look at the sky much?
I do, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, the bluish greenish object that you're describing is a commonly reported sighting in Middle Tennessee, by the way.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I have had a sighting of that over by Priest Lake, but I don't have it on film. I have a lot of UFOs on film from the area, but not that particular
Where
one.
now? From where?
Middle Tennessee, Priest Lake,
Oh,
over in Nashville.
yeah.
Over by the dam.
Yeah.
But this object actually went down, looked like it went into the lake. I don't know that it did or not, but it went over, like it went over the trees
Right, yeah.
as though it went into the lake. But,
Well, I believe they're real myself.
yeah.
Sure do.
Yeah, there's just a mountain of evidence, and
I heard so many stories about it when I was out west, about truck drivers to see them coming over in that wide open country
Yeah.
out there, you know, and causing the ignition and everything to go dead and all that, you know, and then after it passed over, well then everything come back to normal. The ignition would come on and all that.
I think probably the government has some, black ops projects that got some weird kind of looking craft.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I don't know that even to this day if they have anything that'll quite go as fast as.
No, I don't think so.
Because I've filmed a jet going over, and it takes about 180 frames for the jet to go across the screen, and it takes 2 for an object 40 times bigger than that jet to go across the screen.
How about that?
So it's moving pretty quick.
Yeah.
So even with the naked eye, you can see it go by. Plus, I've got it zoomed in. Without having it zoomed in, it'd just be a little dot going by real fast, and you wouldn't even know what it was.
Yeah, right.
But so it's rare to have a close-up sighting where you can actually see something. But Middle Tennessee seems to be a hot spot for a lot of UFO sightings. All my footage is in daylight.
Well, like I say, this is, I guess between sundown and dark. It's not enough to see good, you know. But I don't know if it was inside of the vehicle and what it made a noise, and I don't remember.
Right.
I just don't know what it made.
It may have been so far up in the upper atmosphere, it may not,
No,
even if it had noise, you might
It was
not.
just up above the treetop.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it just like that. It was gone.
So just above, that's pretty close.
Yeah, it is.
How large would you say it was if you held your hand out? Would it be a dime or a nickel or a quarter?
Like I say, I was pretty close to it. It was, I would say it was about like a pickup truck. That size.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty good size.
Yeah.
It sure was.
Well, that was either close or real big.
Yeah, I was close, and it was about that size too.
So you think it was about the size of a pickup?
Yeah, that's pickup. I mean, had the bed.
You was judging by the trees, because you could see the tree tops, and it was just slightly above that?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, not too far above the tree.
Did it go over the horizon?
Going right up a big ravine, a hollow. You wouldn't call it. Yeah. Now, where it went from there, because it had to rise up to get over the next one. I didn't see that because it went so fast.
Right.
I just don't know. I was trying to stay in the road. I was so amazed when it went over. It shocked me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of traffic up there. I think, people just don't really look at it that much, or, I mean, you would have to zoom in for the most part to really get a good look at that what's going on.
Well, I've read where our guys, our astronauts that's been sent up into space, they've seen some things that they don't wish to talk about. So
Right.
I don't know. I guess been sworn under secrecy that they don't talk.
I think the only astronaut that's talking about is Dr. Edgar Mitchell. He's the only one that has actually gone on record saying that he did see craft up there.
Oh.
And
I forgot now who he was.
Yeah.
I know I have read about it.
yeah, Dr. Mitchell, he's
Dr. Mitchell.
founder of the Institute of Noetic Sciences, which is an organization that studies a lot of this strange phenomena and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
Freeman, I haven't finished the book,
Mhm.
but he's been all over the world. He told me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's been everywhere. In Europe and the eastern part of that, Asia, I think, and South America, New Zealand. And,
oh yeah,
I know here. I think he was in Canada, right over from across the water from out of Maine when he called me,
yeah,
and he told me he was. Excuse me, he was going to Roswell. I think it's about 2 weeks or something. Then that big convention was coming up there, that UFO convention out there, and he said he was going out there then. I bet he said he's leaving the next day. I wish I could go with him.
yeah. He was here last year at MTSU University in Murfreesboro, and he did a debate with James, whatever his name is. He doesn't deserve to be remembered. The astronomer guy who debated against him. Who he thoroughly whipped in the debate, and I got to carry his luggage out to his car for him. About my own.
Who whipped who in the debate?
No, Stanton Freedman definitely whipped the other guy. The other guy was an astronomer, and he was trying to say, well, there's no, he wasn't giving any evidence, and he wasn't disproving any of the mountains of evidence that Stanton Freedman was presenting, and all the people there had questions that the gentleman wasn't giving very good answers for. He just kind of rude. He said he had a picture of a guy standing on the moon taking a leak, and said that's what the astronomers think about extraterrestrials. But I mean, I don't know. I know lots of astronomers who don't think that. In fact, I think the vast majority of scientists at least believe that there is the potential life out there somewhere in the universe. Whether they're intelligent, enough to come here or not. That's debatable, but there is definitely some kind of presence here from somewhere.
Yeah, well, they have enough proof if it was just let out. I mean,
right.
No, they had to come from somewhere. It had to come from somewhere.
Yes.
The way I look at it. And if they have kept it so secretly, they know different than what they're trying to make out like they don't know.
Now, you're not an old-time poker player, are you?
No, I played a little when I was in service. That's where he come from. I remember meeting the guy that taught me how to play poker. His name was Earl Baker.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's from Hazard, Kentucky.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's where we're from.
Yeah, that's
Earl Baker.
Earl Baker. I told him I wish he'd look him up. Of course, he's about my age, and I mean, he might have passed on by now.
Well, you know, Doyle Brunson just won the World Poker Championship for the 10th time, and he's 82 years old.
Is that right?
And they call him Texas Dolly. And that's why I said, because you've got your cowboy hat on, remind me of, he wears a cowboy hat now.
But, after I left the service, I never played any more poker. But now Baker was good. That's all he was a minor. And of course he was conscripted. I guess he's 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He was in there, but I remember him telling me that him and his brothers would meet in some vacant building upstairs, you know, where they could watch out, see if the cops playing poker. But he was good at it.
And what kind of poker games did you play back then?
We played 5-card stud, 7-card stud, and 21, some people call it blackjack, yeah. And,
but no Texas Hold'em?
No.
None of that?
No.
That Texas Hold'em is almost a game of luck, isn't it? I mean,
I don't know. I didn't think about it.
I'm sure there's some skill to it. The same guys keep winning, but...
Yes, let's see now. Yeah, they play strip poker. I've heard of that. I never...
Tried to introduce a few young ladies to that game.
No, I never played it.
Well, I certainly appreciate you giving me your time this afternoon for
Well,
this
it
interview.
wasn't too much. I didn't
Is there
know
anything
too much,
else
but
you
it's been,
would like to add to it, or?
I don't know.
What's the, oh, the Alien? Yeah, they got the Alien, A-L-E-N, A-L-E-E-N. It's a play on words. They got a big alien statue out front. They're in Roswell now, some restaurant.
Well, the last time I was out there, I didn't get to sightsee too much. I just visited some old friends of mine, some of my first wife's close relations. And I did remember passing by this museum there. It had a big...
Right, they got the Roswell Museum now.
Yeah, the Roswell Museum was just alien museum. It wasn't in the Roswell main museum. It was up
Okay.
itself. And it had a big glass window there. I remember just walking by and looking, I think. Maybe I stopped momentarily. But no, I left there in 1969, Roswell.
Uh-huh.
And came to Tennessee in November, I believe it was. And I haven't lived back there since.
Right.
You meet a lot of people out there. What do people out there think about it? Well, people who live there. Really, I don't know. I can't remember talking to anyone about it. I can't. I don't know.
That was my bad, Vern Pratt, that asked that question, interjected that question there. By the way, no, we won't have to cut it out.
Now, I lived over in Socorro, where the state
Ask all questions
troopers.
you want.
Yeah. Well, he saw one light or crash or something. But I worked not too far from that. I've been over and looked for it.
His name was Lonnie something.
I forget
I can't think of his last name.
But
Yeah.
he was in that area, in that Socorro area.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard the people say yes, but had I heard anybody, say anything about it, crash or talk about it while I was out there. But I did hear those guys talk about, said he was never the same guy anymore after he went up to investigate this crash. And the best I remember, there was
a police
some aliens there at that time when he went up there.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow, let's see, I don't know, I can't quote it, I'd be afraid to say exactly
He
what
stumbled onto it somehow, didn't he?
Well, he saw it, I think, go
Yeah.
down, and he went up off the main highway back there to investigate. I think that's where it was. I know exactly where it was, where they said it was.
I was thinking his name was Lonnie Socorro, but it's not at Socorro.
Yeah, Socorro's in
It's
the
the
town,
city,
yeah, where I live. And I know the School of Mines is there, where people learn to be miners in a big college.
Mm-hmm. Like for coal mines, or?
Any kind of mining, I guess. Any underground mine, yeah.
Wow.
Maybe. Yeah, there's only, I think, 2 in the United States that they let it. Maybe, I don't know.
I didn't even know you went to school for that. I didn't, you know.
Huh?
I mean, I went to clown college, but I didn't know you went to college to be a coal miner.
Well, they have one.
Or any kind of miner.
They have one north of Nashville.
Oh, okay.
A shooter mine? Oh,
Yeah.
but I don't see it's a mine, it's above ground, they made this mine.
Oh, it's just like they train you at the how to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
training. Pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Guess I remember that, the people from South America and Mexico, it'd be a mining engineer, you know.
Sure.
They'd go out there and go to college and graduate, go back to learn the hook miners, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the techniques.
Well, while we're here, and since you're talking, tell us about your UFO sighting, Dad. You had a UFO sighting in Kentucky, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm kind of hard-headed about that. If I had, my sighting was in broad daylight, if I'd have seen lights or something like that at night, I probably wouldn't have thought much about it.
I'm going to let you speak into the microphone since you're so soft.
But me and my wife were driving from Hazard to Lexington, Kentucky.
Uh-huh.
And we're going up this little, slide incline, and over on the right is a car, 2 men are working on. They got the hood up, and they up by the hood. And I looked up, and here's this thing flying across the sky. No wings, no smoke, no nothing, man. And I said to my wife, I said, that thing can't fly. But it was.
What was it shaped like?
It was about 30 feet long, 3 feet high, and had cigar shaped, I guess. Huh? Cigar shaped. Cigar shaped, yeah. I know a lot of cigar shaped at one time. It had looked like dark windows in it, you know. Uh-huh. But it's 3 feet high, man. Was it going at a fast speed or was it slow? No, it was going slow. Okay. It was probably going. Looked like 50 miles an hour, you know. Uh-huh. But it didn't take long to get up speed, you know.
Yeah, so it was pretty low to the ground.
It was probably, we were probably 150 feet up. And I thought that it didn't make any noise because them 2 guys working on that car never did turn around. It went right over top of them. They didn't hear you. They didn't turn around. Didn't acknowledge you being there. So then all of a sudden it was noise, man. I mean, it was so fast. Yeah, and up there, you know, there are no valleys in
right,
Kentucky.
it's mountain after mountain.
Mountain after mountain.
Crack in between, called a holler.
Right. Well, and then went down this hollow, and the time I got around there before I could see that it was gone, you know.
Yeah.
Completely scary. I was surprised how scared I got. And I said to myself, I said, well, it's been over there extracting minerals. You know, a lot of minerals up there in Kentucky. Right. And it was very, very strange, man. It left me shaking, I'll be honest with you.
So, but it wasn't anything you were consciously afraid of. You didn't think about, hey, that's a UFO. I'm scared of aliens.
No.
But there was something about the presence of it that just struck a nerve within you somehow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've had that same experience.
Yeah. Well, hey, when I saw this go, you know, well, what was that? You know, and you can't have a quick enough thought, so I won't see what that is, but it's not already going.
But you knew it, but it had an effect on you to where you knew it wasn't something normal that normally happens.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. Right. But it didn't scare me. It just kind of amazed me.
Right.
Yeah. After it got out of sight, and I got thinking about it, I got scared.
Did it have a otherworldly appearance in any way, like an aura around it, or like it was some paranormal?
No, it just looked like a.
It looked like something sitting up in the sky going.
Yeah, the good fly, you know. Yeah. I tell you, this is a dumb way to describe it, but I thought it looked like a pile of lumber. It's different sizes, you know.
Kind of like a step pyramid. Kind of like little sections,
The little things sticking out all the bottom of it, you know.
Like the shortest board's at the top, and then it gets a little wider, wider.
No, these are all random sizes.
Jangled edges.
Random sizes. Very strange, man.
It is strange.
I told my wife, I said, that thing can't fly. But it could. And it did. You know. And I started to say, oh, it the at night, it wasn't meant nothing to me.
Right.
Lights, you know, airplanes and whatever.
It could be explainable somehow, but
Yeah.
in broad daylight, it's kind of hard to dismiss it.
You couldn't have made me believe there was a flying saucer. But you hit me over the head with one. I wouldn't have
But
believed
this wasn't a saucer, this was a cigar-shaped pile of
Yeah.
batteries.
There was no way that this thing could fly.
Now, the cigar-shaped object that I have that's well known, and I've nicknamed the Clayton Mobile, I've got it's a metal cigar shape. Mine's like a metal cigar.
But yours is like huge.
It's got a little dome on top of it. Yeah, it's large. It's like, larger than an aircraft.
Like a submarine or something like that.
Right. It's like a...
He was talking about the one he saw was the size of a pickup.
Yeah.
Well, this was bigger than a pickup.
Yeah.
Maybe like a pickup and a half.
Pickup and a half. Well, that's approximately the same size.
But why the thought struck me that thing had been over to collecting minerals. I don't know why that struck me.
Do you have any memory of any sightings that took place in Hazard, Kentucky, years ago, where the chief of police reportedly saw some kind of craft?
Yeah, they had a boy that used to be my road manager.
I can remember that too.
Was up there, and they that thing showed up for a week, man.
Yeah.
Every night these people come around. There was a new road cut through, and there'd be hundreds and hundreds of people sitting there waiting, watching for this UFO to come.
Oh.
And it came, man. It didn't disappoint them.
Well, how about that?
But this real close friend of mine had.
Now, where was that located, where that happened? Was that on a mountain or where?
It was down there where they cut that new road in, you know, where the police barracks is.
Okay.
The police barracks comes onto the old road,
Right.
and they cut a new road through this mountain.
So it's not really on a mountain, it's kind of down.
Oh yeah, it's down almost
Curvy
creek
mountain.
level.
Yeah.
Creek level up there is about 500
So if
feet.
you're not on a mountain, you're on creek level, aren't you?
500 feet above sea level in Hazard.
500 feet above sea level.
Yeah, I thought that was the strangest thing.
That's odd. It's mountains, though.
Yes, mountains, one after another.
But down at the bottom, it's 500 below sea level? Or are you saying that even at
500 above sea level if you're down at the bottom
At
of the
creek
hill.
level, okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
strange, man. But there was hundreds and hundreds of people came up there to see that. And that friend of mine said that the Air Force came up there and they took him aside and they told him, you better not ever tell this, you know. Of course, you know, he was like a buddy.
Did you ever try to drive out there to where the location was to look at it? You know, and what people describe, everybody was getting in their cars at this time to drive and try to see it. And,
No, they would go out there and stop. They'd stop and wait for it to come.
yeah.
And they came and did this for them, you know.
Was there ever a time when the Air Force turned people away, or like there was some Air Force guys there with
No, there was Air Force.
barricades?
That's about the same. The third night, them Air Force guys were up there. Hell, they didn't know what it was either.
Oh, okay.
I remember reading about up in Corbin, Kentucky, they had quite a lot of UFO activity going around there. And
Yes,
I
sir.
think I can't remember exactly what all happened, but to me, like say, the man of the house happened to look out and they lived in back country, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one in his yard or something like that. And
Yeah.
You remember anything about that?
No, I don't remember the Corbin, Kentucky.
Best I remember, they were green. Little green aliens.
Real green men, literally, yeah.
Yeah, right. And he had quite a conversation with them, best I remember. But now, that's about the extent of that. I just haven't think of it.
Now, there were some people in Hopkinsville, Kentucky years ago that actually shot at some metallic-looking aliens with shotguns, and the bullets just bounced off and made them squeal, though. So they knew they was getting their attention.
Yeah.
But evidently it wasn't hurting them too bad. But it wasn't. It was aggravating them enough to run them off, but
Yeah.
it wasn't really doing damage.
That one boy in Hazard was up in this
strip mine.
Uh-huh.
And he was up there by himself, and he said there was fire flying around.
Yeah,
And he stood there and watched them for an hour. This is about daylight too.
sure.
He came off the mountain, came down there and got the police, and took them back up there, and
They were
saw-
still there.
They were still there. They were having a hell of a time.
That's unusual. They evidently were waiting. I mean, they just waited around or something.
Yeah.
Well, the amazing I would see when I'd walk out on the porch at night back in, I guess, in '72, it'd be back north of me, just a little bit west, mostly north. But they would bounce up and down, and they looked like they was quite a ways off, about the size of a dinner plate. That's
Right.
about the size they looked
Yeah.
where I was standing. But they're real bright looking.
Sure. Now, you've never written any books or
No.
done anything to try
I
to,
never documented and nothing.
you know, somehow make money off of your
No.
story or anything like that.
That's right.
Yeah. You just happen to be at the right place at the
That's right.
right or wrong time, depends on how you look at it.
Yeah. Well, I've always wanted to see one, and actually, if it was piloted or controlled by any aliens, I'd like to talk to them. I mean, really, I would.
Well,
I've always been full of adventure, and I guess I had
Sure.
a pretty good nerve, and I don't scare like a lot of people.
I
Right.
thought I wanted to talk to him too. I've seen that.
Yeah.
But,
I said I thought I wanted to talk to him too. I've seen that.
yeah.
And I didn't have no desire to stop on and flag him down.
Well, I'm brave like you, Johnny, or foolish, either way you want to look at it. Because I chase after them if I see them, or
Yeah.
if I see Bigfoot creatures, I'll chase after them. And most people would run when they see an 8-foot tall hairy guy, but
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that guy, really, but anyhow, I was telling him, I started to Alaska one time, and I remember going through Las Vegas, and what's the other town north of there? Right to put a Donner's Pass. Anyway, I crossed over Donner's Pass, and I turned north at Marysville, California, best I remember, and I went up to Redding, California. And that's when that Bigfoot scare was going on.
Yeah.
When this guy was seeing all this. And it's 140 miles through there. There's nothing but mountainous country. You talk about mountains now, and treacherous roads, they have them. And they was cutting some new road through there, and this guy was telling me that where Bigfoot was. I'd already read about it in the news, you know. And where you take up 55-gallon drums of oil and throw them off down the canyon, get up and walk on caterpillars because you can see the dust. But I think all that turned out to be a hoax. I mean, I read years later where this guy said that particular sighting and news that was created was just a hoax.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Patterson film, there was a famous film made of Bigfoot years ago, and recently scientists have examined that film and have said that it can't be a hoax.
Yeah.
Because you can see the actual muscle striations and the movements in the skin of the creature, like the calves of the legs and
Yeah.
the thighs and the muscles. It would just be impossible unless you use, computer graphics, which weren't invented back then.
Yeah. Well, I remember hearing someone talk about, they remember seeing, it came a big flood one time, and this Van Dusen River out there came down, real, where there's a lot of debris, trees and whatnot, coming down the river, and this there's some kind of an animal that got frightened, and she happened to be on one side, and then the little one's on the other. She swam that river and grabbed this little and swam back on the other side. That was just talk that I heard.
I would like to have seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see that, yeah.
Well, they've got a film that's on the net now. I don't know if it's authentic or not, but even if it's not authentic, it may be more amazing than Bigfoot because it shows approximately 8.5 feet tall, either a Bigfoot or a person in a Bigfoot suit chases down a cat in an open field.
Oh.
And the cat can zigzag and run along there pretty quick.
Yeah.
And this either a person in a costume who can run really fast just outrun that cat.
Yeah.
He caught that cat.
That cat's head off.
Yeah, that is what happened on the film. He bit the back. He killed the cat. As soon as he caught it. Yeah. He bit the back of its head, and he just killed it. He didn't eat it.
Oh,
So, for some reason, it's been out there that Bigfoots don't like cats too much.
Well, where was this
They've
filmed
been
then?
missing dogs too.
You know?
I believe it was Oregon. I
Oregon.
believe that was Oregon.
Yeah.
well, see, I was up near the Oregon border where this happened. The Van Dusen River is not too far from Oregon border.
But there's definitely real Bigfoot right here. I mean, I've had 2 actual physical sightings where I saw Bigfoot. Once only for a couple of seconds, and then the other time it was for over 4 minutes.
Well, now, it was reported that a friend of mine,
Mhm.
it was his nephew, I believe, saw one day around, well, it'd be in Lincoln County, Tennessee, here,
Mhm.
several years ago. It was when I first came back here. It was in about 73.
Where's Lincoln County at?
It's Fayetteville is the county seat,
Okay,
right north
okay.
of Huntsville, Alabama,
Yeah.
just over in Tennessee.
Yeah.
It's about 85, 90 miles from here. Right below Shelbyville, south of
Okay,
Shelbyville.
yes.
Yeah. A little bit west of Lynchburg, southwest.
Lincoln County.
Yeah, and he was all excited about seeing it. He was a hunter anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And, he really says he knows what he saw.
Yeah, it's pretty compelling when you see it with your own eyes, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't expect anybody else to believe in it. Or
One you.
I saw one that was a red-haired one and one that was a black-haired one. And there was a Bigfoot researcher with me when I saw the first one, but she didn't see it because it was just for a couple of seconds, and it went. We were walking along. We had a video camera on, so we caught the sound. When we would stop walking, we could still hear the footsteps. It was in the fall, out here at Montgomery Bell Park in Dixon. And it's actually a place called Werewolf Springs, Tennessee, where the Hall family cemetery dead ends to Montgomery Bell State Park. And we were walking along. We were about 3 hours deep in the woods, and we came to a clearing where TVA had put in the telephone poles. And I turned to my right, and I saw him standing there, totally erect, not hunched over at all. And it cleared about 40 yards in about 2 seconds. And I chased after it. I didn't catch it. I wasn't quite that fast. But then about 3 months later, I returned with a friend of mine who's a scientist, and she actually sighted a black creature, and we measured where the limb by its head, by the tree it was standing next to, was 8'6", just below the top of its head. So we could see its eyes, we could see its face, its mouth, pretty much, even though it had hair on its face, but it wasn't totally covered. Its face wasn't.
Yeah.
But we had some strange experiences.
I said about that group up in East Tennessee, but it's a group, and all they do is study Bigfoot.
Oh, there's lots of those.
Very
Yeah.
good sized group.
Yeah, the largest organization is called BFRO, the Bigfoot North American Bigfoot Research Organization, and they collect sightings from all over the country.
Let
and
me
they
ask you a question.
create a map. Yeah.
You were talking to me, you were telling me about that guy out there that was going to catch the Bigfoot, and he said he did, didn't he?
Right. That was on Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell, but it was actually George Norrie who's the new host for Coast to Coast. This is what happened. Okay, and I won't even name the names. But the researcher in question, this is a guy who is a credible researcher that's been a researcher for 20 years, who has no reason to come out with something wild. But he had an expedition together, and they had the money to hang in there, and they were going to stay until they caught a Bigfoot, because they were going to use these net guns and tranquilizer darts to catch a Bigfoot, right? And he thought that within a couple of weeks he would have some results, and he would tell George about it. Well, he come back on the show the next night, and he said, I'll have something within a week for you. And so he came back a week later, and he told him, I already have a Bigfoot in captivity. I've already had it in captivity for a week, and I'm going to get some pictures of it on my website. But problem that happened was the next day he comes back and says, "Well, it was a hoax. The people told me that it was a Bigfoot." And see that this creature was supposedly at a research facility, at a medical facility, being treated for injuries that it had incurred during capture. So all of a sudden he changes his story to that he doesn't have a Bigfoot.
Can't trust him, yeah.
So, my opinion, maybe he did have one, and somebody took it away from him, or quietened him down, or something to that effect. I don't know. On the other hand, he had 6 different TV shows that had helicopters that were following him around while he was trying to, capture a Bigfoot.
Now, he had got information from the locals, I guess, of sightings or something.
Right.
How come this investigator there in the first place?
Right, but he didn't really correct himself right, because he said that he had one. It was being treated for medical, injuries that it had incurred during capture, and that he would have some very close-up video on his website within the next day or two, which he didn't.
You might have just thought he hit it.
Well,
He could have escaped it, but reversed it.
I think that, it might have escaped, because if he would have to keep tranquilizing it. Try to use your martial arts skills to defend yourself against a Bigfoot. You might as well forget that.
Oh, man, yeah.
Now, if we could ever capture a Bigfoot and train him to play football for the Titans, we'd make a touchdown every play. I mean, nobody would tackle this guy, I'm telling you.
I've read he carried the whole team on his back.
Yeah.
I've read where they had been sighted in certain localities that way, and guys would take, each hunters take their dogs out, and the dog would bay him, and they'd get up close to him, this Bigfoot, and he would slap at him, just tear the intestines out,
Yeah.
kill the dogs, and he would escape.
And there's not a whole lot of reported violence from Bigfoots. The only stories I've heard is just a couple of them, and there has been one reported death from a Bigfoot, but in every case it was when someone was trying to capture the younger Bigfoot children,
Yeah, right.
and then they were throwing boulders at the people to make them stop.
Yeah.
That's the stories that I've heard. I haven't heard them initiating violence. Of course, if they wanted to be violent, they certainly could.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're definitely big.
Yeah, I actually associate them with a particular alien, which are the little green men that you were talking about earlier. Which there are actual little green men, which were the original aliens years ago, before the grays and the ones with the big black wraparound eyes came along, and going back for centuries. With stories about elves, where people had reported, elves, and they spray them with fairy dust and their magic wand. Well, now they spray people's genitals with this fairy dust, and extract sperm from them or do different kind of experiments and things. At least that's what's been reported. I mean, we don't know. And my friend Sandy Nichols, who's going to be on the show, they have been abducting him since he was a child, and he when they're not doing anything with him, like sticking something metallic up his penis or taking scoops of flesh out of him, they'll throw him in a big vat of blue water where he's underwater breathing it. Because we know we have that kind of technology now, where we do have the water, the liquid oxygen people can breathe for deep sea divers, because the pressures at really low depths are impossible for people to withstand without being in liquid themselves. That's the only way they can do it.
Got liquid oxygen coming to it.
I don't know if it's liquid oxygen, but it's a liquid form that's a breathable. It's got oxygen in it. I don't know what the real makeup of the chemicals are.
That would scare me to death, man.
Letting that water fill up into your lungs?
Yeah, man.